My fellow Americans, it's not always a good thing to say that because we are not a very healthy group of people. In fact, 88 to 94% of American adults have at least one marker that leads to metabolic disease. Metabolic disease is one of four different things, maybe arguably another, but we won't talk about that one. Metabolic disease, diabetes, hypertension, cardiac disease, and obesity. As that collectively and individually progresses, we then have what's called insulin resistance. Insulin resistance. This trajectory tends to come from a sedentary lifestyle. It's a lifestyle that causes metabolic disease. And once we're on that trajectory, this is what we tend to see. This is the path that we tend to see. Sedentary lifestyle leads to a loss of function. A loss of function then is going to lead to a loss of independence. A loss of independence then is going to slide into cognitive decline. When we get to that state, cognitive decline, we tend to hear reports of feeling hopeless, powerless, without purpose. To put it another way, American adults, there's about 6 to 12% of us that are living an idealistic metabolic life. The sad news, okay, this is the sad news about this, is that if you look over the last 40 years of data, decade after decade after decade, it's getting worse and worse and worse. The statistic is getting worse and worse. Albeit, here's the crazy part, we are living much longer lives. We're living much longer lives, leading to what is now an epidemic. We have an epidemic happening in America. We have an epidemic happening here in America. Well, you guys missed the best part. Okay, so tonight is not about walking versus strength training. Maybe the title fooled you. I'm sorry. This is not about walking versus strength training. Okay? It's not about trends. It's not going to be some perfect method for you to follow. Okay? Tonight is about educating you on how the body actually adapts. How the body actually adapts. And what that means for you guys and for myself for the next 20, 30, 40, 50, and so on years of your life. Okay? So let's keep the main thing the main thing. If you did not remember anything from the rest of tonight, I want you to remember this one thing. It's a quote that saved my life. Direction, not intention, leads to destination. I'm going to say that again. Direction, not intention, leads to destination. No one intends in their 30s and 40s to sabotage their life. No one does, right? No one wakes up one morning and is like, man, I can't wait. I just cannot wait to lose function. Right? They don't want to be dependent on a caretaker. We don't look forward to that. It's not what we are planning, right? We don't want to have cognitive decline. And definitely, probably what we are the most afraid of is losing our purpose, our identity, our why. That's the trajectory that we tend to see. So, what do we do about this? We go to health experts, right? We go to the doctor because we don't want that to happen. And when we go to the doctor, we, in the medical field, doctor, physical therapist, wherever it is that you go, okay, we have sold our lives out to this dilemma, this problem. All right, we go research, we get educated, we practice so that we can help. And when we go to help you, and you come in for your initial intake, whether you're going to your primary or physical therapist or anything, we always ask one question. No, actually, we ask a lot of questions, but there's one specific one that I really want to get after tonight. Can anyone guess which question I'm kind of going towards when we take our health intake home? Kathy's waving. She doesn't want to answer the question. No, she wants to answer.
She saved me a place because I'm always.
Anyone brave enough to just kind of think about what's that one question that he might be thinking about when I go to the doctor? How are you feeling? Yeah, that's great. How are you feeling? Usually the nurse asks this question when you go to your primary care. What would we say that again?
Your why?
Yeah, what is your why? Right? What I'm really looking for, and it was struck out, but what do you do for exercise? Show of hands. When you go to your doctor, what do you do for exercise? When you go to a physical therapist, what do you do for exercise? Why do we ask that question? Why do we ask that question? We ask that question because we know something. We know something about exercise. And when we ask that question, we actually know something that you don't. We can care less about, actually, let me just phrase that. It's not that we can care less. We care less, all right, about the activity that you do. We care less about the activity that you do, and we care more about what system your body is trained in. We know something that you don't. We want to know what system inside your body you tend to go towards. And when we ask this question, nearly 100% of the time, we get this one answer. Please, somebody, help me out. Do you know what that answer is? Oh, come on. I walk. That's what we get 100% of the time. However long you've been in the medical industry, that's how many times you've heard I walk. Millions and millions and millions. I walk. Now the thing is, walking's not bad. It's good. It's good for you. Walking is good for you. Okay? It's movement. It's health. It's not bad. But I want to kind of point something to you. 92% of Americans are slipping down a slippery slope. 100% of Americans say they walk. There's a discrepancy there. Okay? The reality is here again, I want to remind you, tonight is not that walking is bad and straight turning is awesome. We're gonna talk about that. Okay? We're gonna talk about that. But the idea here is to understand that exercise in and of itself is not just a one size fits all. Okay? We don't just exercise and then have what we want at the end of life. There's some engines within our body that we've got to train. Okay? So, our bodies adapt to the stress applied to it. If any of you guys have discovered this recently, I really go after this. Our bodies adapt to the stress applied to it. And if we understand those demands, we can be much more intentional of how we train our bodies. So, a helpful way to understand this is to think about the body as having 3 different engines. Each engine produces energy in a different way. Okay? Each engine supports different types of movement. And each engine declines with age. Dang it. If we don't challenge it, 3 engines gotta be challenged. This engine number 1, talk about that, is the slow endurance engine. This is the engine that you use when you walk, when you go for a hike, when you go for a nice slow stroll with your dog. Okay? It relies heavily on oxygen, and it's efficient, it's sustainable, and it doesn't fatigue very easily. You can do this activity for a long period of time. Engine number 2, this is the sustained effort engine. This engine activates when effort becomes a little harder. Think of it as your heart rate elevating. Your breathing increases. That is engine number 2. Some examples of this might be walking up a hill, scurrying up some steps, okay, carrying something heavy from your car to the garage. All right, that would be engine number 2. Engine number 3 is the explosive power engine. This engine activates when you need to use force rapidly. Okay, quick movements, immediate force. Now, boom. Okay, examples of this is lifting a heavy weight. Something really heavy that one time. All right, jumping. Or something that's very, very practical. You stumble, boom, and you catch yourself. All right, that's that third engine. This engine is incredibly powerful, but it only works for short bursts. That's how it was designed. All 3 engines matter. All 3 engines matter. We've got to train all 3 engines. But, going back to what we talked about, what is the one engine that Americans mostly train? Number 1. That's right. Gotcha. Okay. So, let's think about this. The reason why we even have these engines, okay, we're going to get a little bit sciencey now. I know this is why you all came. Okay, exercise physiology, here it comes. All right? The reason why that we have these engines is because we have muscle fibers that are different inside of our muscles. Got it? So we have one muscle, let's say the quad. I'm going to use the quad as an example for this. We have one muscle, it's a quad. But within the muscle, there are different types of fibers. Okay? Now, we can get into the weeds of this. In fact, there's entire college courses on this one specific thing. Okay? But I'm going to really kind of make it broad for you. There are 3 different types of muscle fibers within a singular muscle. There are type 1 muscle fibers, and then there's 2 different types of type 2 muscle fibers. Type 1 muscle fibers are often called slow twitch muscle fibers. These fibers support endurance. They rely heavily on oxygen, they resist fatigue, and they help you, specifically if we're talking about the quad, they help you walk for a long period of time. This is type 1 muscle fibers. Type 2 muscle fibers, often called fast twitch muscle fibers. These fibers produce more force and power. Type 2 muscle fibers actually come in these 2 different varieties, like I said, type 2A and 2X. 2A fibers are somewhat fatigue resistant, all right? Think of those as the ones when you're climbing up the hill, okay, or getting yourself up the stairs really quick. Those are the 2A muscle fibers. The 2X muscle fibers are the most powerful ones that we have in there. Stick with me, guys, okay? We'll get through this science in a second, I promise. 2X muscle fibers are the most powerful ones they have. They produce that explosive power that you need. But guess what? If you need to use it, it fatigues fast. It's not something you can sustain for a long period of time. It's now, and then it's gone. Okay? That's 2A and 2X. When we use our 2X, that again is for jumping type of things, stumbling and catching yourself when you fall. But here's the important idea that you guys need to hear tonight. After the age of 40, we tend to lose the type 2 muscles, specifically the 2X fibers, at a rapid pace. If any of y'all came to the workshop a couple months ago, I said something. After the age of 35, we start to lose lean mass at a rate of 2 to 5% every year. Now I'm getting really specific. After 40, you start losing the fast stuff. You start losing the fast stuff. So, we don't just lose strength as we age, we lose speed. We lose power. This is a big part right here. Power is what keeps us independent. I'm going to say that again. Power, physiologically, is what keeps us independent. Walking mostly challenges slow fibers. Strength and intensity challenge fast fibers. If we never challenge them, okay, we will lose them. It's the old saying, you don't use it, you lose it. And unfortunately, you don't lose it at an equal rate. Got it? Okay, so those muscle fibers that we just talked about rely on different energy systems. We're going to start bringing back the engines, okay? When you move slowly for a long period of time, that's engine 1. When you use engine 1, all right, you are using oxygen to convert fuel into energy. When you take oxygen and convert that into energy, it takes a long time to do. All right, inside the body, it's called the Krebs cycle. Another one of those college courses, maybe some of you guys have taken. All right, it takes a long time to do. The benefit of using this one, though, all right, is that you get tons of energy out of it. Tons and tons and tons of energy. When you go towards the fast fibers, all right, and you start using engine 2 and engine 3, you can get the energy faster right now, but it costs you something. In order to use it quickly, it costs you something. That's maybe why we lose them so fast. When you use that energy system, that fiber, muscle fiber, what happens is you produce a byproduct called lactate. Anyone ever heard of lactic acid? Okay, lactic acid, for as long as I can remember, all right, and any of you that have been in exercise physiology courses, lactic acid has always been considered garbage. Garbage is stinky. Garbage is smelly. Garbage is disruptive. All right? And it stores in your muscle and it wreaks havoc. That's how I've always understood lactic acid, right? You work too hard, your muscles break down, and then it stores in your body. Your body hurts, that's a problem. Anyone ever heard of that before?
Yep.
Okay, here's the thing. Within recent research, since even I've been a physical therapist, within recent research, lactate actually can be used as fuel. It's not just garbage. Lactate can be stored in the muscle to be reused as fuel. It can be picked up in the bloodstream. It can take it to the heart. The brain can use it as fuel. Lactate used to be garbage. Now, guess what? We're considering it to be fuel. So when you have that burn when you're doing something a little hard, okay, what once maybe thought to be like, oh boy, this is going to be trouble. Now we can think of it as, oh, this is actually producing more fuel. Lactate can be fuel, and that's really, really important. Now, let's be honest. If you're pushing yourself so hard that you can't walk for a week, that's a problem. Loss of function is loss of function, right? Loss of function because you went too hard, or loss of function because you just didn't do anything for decades. Still loss of function, okay? So there is a sweet spot. We'll talk about that in a second. So, just to recap, engine 1, kind of that slow muscle fiber, type 1, walk, think that, okay? Engine 2 and engine 3, that's the fast twitch muscles, but it costs you something, right? It produces lactate. That is something that is produced chemically when you use those muscles. Big thing here is if we never challenge those type 2 muscle fibers, we will lose them. So that once, we'll probably say it 9 more times today. With this said, walking is still good for you. I said that at the beginning. This is not a strength train or die situation. This is, no, it's strength train and. Let's talk about walking. Let's talk about what it specifically does for you. When we look at engine number 1 specifically, this type 1 walking, this type of thing, when we look at it in exercise physiology and physical therapy, we are able to calculate the strength of this engine off of something called VO2 max. Anyone heard that term before? VO2 max, all over your Garmin devices, Apple Watches, VO2 max. When we look at the VO2 max basically reflects how well your body can use oxygen during effort. Okay? How well your body can use oxygen during effort. It represents how effectively your heart, lungs, blood vessels, and muscles work together. Got it? We need to know how well those are all working together, and the way that we determine that is based off of your VO2 max. It turns out that your VO2 max is one of the strongest predictors of, can you guess? Longevity. Yeah! You have a high VO2 max, guess what? You're gonna live a long time. Woohoo! Not flexibility. Not how many steps you get in a day. Not your body fat percentage. Your VO2 max. One of the strongest predictors of longevity. One effective way to improve this system. All right, let's think about how can we increase and improve our VO2 max. The way that you do that is you exercise at a steady pace where you can talk, but you cannot sing. On all your Garmin devices, Apple Watches, you have zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. They put you in a heart rate. Got it? The old-fashioned way that we used to do this, with zone 2 specifically. Hey, Jason, come on in.
We're going to sit right here.
Yeah, no, sure, okay. You can hear me over there. The old-fashioned way of determining if you are increasing your VO2 max, your aerobic capacity, was to ask, when you do a steady state of exercise, can you hold a conversation? But if you had to sing, there is no way that you could do that. That's how you increase your VO2 max. When we increase our VO2 max, something really cool happens at the cellular level. Now we're about to get really nerdy. Really, really nerdy. When you increase your VO2 max, you actually increase your mitochondria.
Oh, man.
Okay? Your mitochondria is in the cell, and they are basically like workshops full of people working to produce more energy. So as you increase your VO2 max, you start to get more and more and more of these power cells, right? These workshops inside of the cell. Think of them as like small energy factories. The more mitochondria that you have, the more mitochondria, it obviously is going to produce more energy. This is so crazy. Energy produces energy. Write that down. The more energy that you spend, the more energy that you get. Mitochondria. Yeah. Sexy one. Okay? You know what else happens when you increase your mitochondria? You regulate your blood sugar. Remember that cascade of events that I talked about at the very beginning? Insulin resistance. Insulin, created by your pancreas, goes into the blood, takes your sugars, and it transports the sugars into the cell so that your cell can have life. When we don't have the insulin, okay, because our body is resistant to it, our blood sugars go all over the place. When it starts to fluctuate like crazy, we get what's called diabetes. That's the term for it. When you increase your VO2 max, you increase your mitochondria. When you increase your mitochondria, you produce more energy. When you produce more energy, guess what? Regulates your blood sugar. So am I in here telling you that you don't need to walk, you just need to strength train? No! Let's go! Walk! Okay? We gotta walk. Absolutely. That's all about engine number 1. Okay? If we step back a little bit, we can see that the entire body depends on all 3 of these engines. The slow engine, the slow endurance engine, this keeps us moving for a long period of time. The sustained effort engine, engine number 2, allows us to push through harder work. The explosive engine allows us to react quickly and generate force. When people lose independence, talked about this a little earlier, but I'm going to really drive this home. When people lose independence as they age, it is not because they forget how to walk. We don't lose independence because you forgot how to walk. We lose independence because we no longer can generate force quickly enough. Can't get off the floor. Can't catch ourselves during a stumble. We can't carry our own body weight. This is not an endurance problem. It's not an endurance problem. It's not a VO2 max problem. It's not a mitochondria problem. Do you know what this is? This is a power problem. We have a problem with our power output. And power declines earlier and faster than endurance. All y'all are like, tell me something I don't know. I feel that every day. This is where strength training does come in. Strength training preserves muscle mass. It protects bone density. It maintains those fast twitch muscle fibers. It preserves the ability to generate force. Strength is not just about appearance. Strength is not just about appearance. It is about the infrastructure. Strength is infrastructure. It's the structural foundation that supports everything else. Without strength, the body becomes fragile. With strength, the body becomes resilient. I kid you not, just this morning, and this happens often, but just this morning, Nicole, who works here, she kind of pokes her head in my office. I'm getting prepared for this. And she says, hey, there's one of the members on the phone. I'm like, yeah, oh, okay. And they're like, they're kind of in a little bit of a panic. I'm like, oh, what's going on? And they're like, well, they fell and they really hurt their shoulder. I'm like, oh, okay, let me talk. Jump on the phone real quick. So-and-so was at their son's house, got into a shower, it's like a tub shower, turned, slipped, fell, right on his shoulder. His shoulder's really hurt, okay? He couldn't move it, can't move it, things like that. So we go through, what we can do, how we can help, little things here and there, real quick, just to kind of give him a little bit of this and that. We're just about to get done, and he goes, and I'm going to make sure I try not to choke up. This is when it starts to get waterworks. Sorry. He says, Dr. Donnie, 6 months ago, I wouldn't have gotten up. I know that 6 months ago, I would not have gotten up. And those stupid freedom get-ups that I hate so much. I hate them. But let me tell you, I rolled over onto my left knee, popped my right leg right up, didn't even hold on to anything because I could barely move my arm. And I just stood right up in that slippery shower. Yeah? So if someone's asking me, what is a balanced approach to exercise? What should it look like? Kind of what's the prescription of what you suggest that I should do for exercise? First, strength training should be the foundation. Got it? Most adults need 3 times a week of putting their muscles and tendons under load. Progressive load. 3 times a week, strength training. I'm going to use an analogy that I learned back in church youth camp. Okay? You guys ever heard this analogy? When you get a glass jar, if you put all the sand in first, you'll never get the pebbles and the rocks in there. But if you have the glass jar and you put the rocks in first, guess what happens? You can then fit the pebbles into the sand. We prioritize walking. We walk the dog. That's a whole bunch of sand. Flip this on its head. Let's prioritize strength training. That should be the foundation. We're losing power. We're not losing endurance. You don't lose independence because you forget how to walk. I'm repeating a lot of things I've said. Okay? We lose independence because we lose power. Strength training should be the foundation. Second, build your aerobic engine. 3 times a week. You got 3 times a week lifting. 3 times a week the other days. You're out doing some form of activity where you are not completely speechless, but you can't sing a song. Okay? Some people will ask, well, how long should I go for? 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour? Heavenly days, I don't know. I'll be completely honest with you. It probably is dependent on your stage of life. Being in my 40s with 4 little kids under the age of 9, being a little busy, if I get 20 minutes, man, I'm pumped. Right? And that 20 minutes, me and my wife are fighting over that 20 minutes. I'm going for a run. No, I'm going for a run. Maybe you're retired. You're retired. Maybe you have a lot of time. Maybe you do it longer. I don't know. right? It's really kind of about the priority of the time that you have that's available to you. Thinking about the rocks. Let's put the rocks in first. Okay? And then let's build around it. Third, occasionally challenge a fast system. Okay, this might involve short bursts of intensity, heavier lifts, efforts that require power. If you come to our group personal training, guess what? This is involved in all that we do. We have short bursts of intensity all the time. We build you up to benchmark week, where guess what? You lift really heavy weights. If you're lifting super heavy weights before benchmark week, you put yourself at risk for injury. Does that make sense? We don't have to lift super heavy weights every single time you come. It's about progressing up to where we can do that at benchmark week. All right? Strength training isn't just grabbing the heaviest weight and lifting it every time. Got it? Because you're using the wrong engine. You use that engine too much, you're going to be over there. You're going to be in physical therapy. I know it. Happens all the time. This is okay. If it happens, guess what? Rebuild. Let's build yourself back up. Got it? Does that make sense? So, the last thing here. Move every day. All day. Walk, walk, walk. Zone 2 training that I talked about just a second ago, right? Engine number 2. That's not just going for walks. That's actually walking with purpose. Your heart rate's elevated, right? For the rest of it, walk, 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 move, move, move. You see stairs, take them. That's the idea. You see a parking spot real close to the grocery store? Don't do it. Don't do it. Park as far away as you can. Walk on in. Little scooters are tempting at Walmart. Don't do it. At the end of the day, this conversation really is not about exercise. It's about capability. Capability. Think about your life decades from now, and I want to ask you, how long do you want to be able to get off the floor without assistance? That's a very, very honest question. How long do you want to be able to do that? How long do you want to carry your own groceries into the house? How long do you want to get in the pool with your grandkids and throw them around like rag dolls? Looking right at you, Greta. How long do you want to be able to climb upstairs without hesitation? How long do you want to live independently? These don't happen by accident. The reason that it happens in your 80s and 90s is because your body was challenged and maintained over time. Direction, not intention, leads to destination. Your body adapts to what you demand of it. If you only demand very little, it slowly becomes capable of very little. If you challenge it thoughtfully and consistently, it responds. The goal is not just to survive aging. I'm going to share one last story. I'm going to close with this story. About a year ago, I had an opportunity to share with some of the rehab experts here in Kansas City, OTs, PTs, some speech. And at the very end of the speech, almost like a war cry, with all the passion and visceral that I had, I wanted to grab him by the shirt. And I basically said, modern medicine and convenience are winning. We are losing. It's that simple. Longevity is not the problem. Longevity is not the problem. When you go to your primary care doctor, guess what their job is? Their job is to keep you alive. Plain and simple. That's their job. You go to an emergency room, guess what they're trying to do? Save your life. Right? You see anything with an MD in front of their name, that's their job. Save your life. Guess what? They're doing a good job. They're doing a really, really good job. So the question I want to leave you, whose responsibility is it to help take the life that you have, that's going to probably be long, and help you make it worth living? It's a lifespan versus health span type of question, right? A longevity versus quality. It's not just about surviving age. The goal is to build capacity. Strength is the foundation of capacity, and capacity is what allows you to remain capable, not just for today, but for your 60s, your 70s, your 80s, your 90s, and beyond. So, something I send all my emails with at the very, very end. I'm going to charge you with this. Okay? Consider it a blessing. Be strong. Be strong. Be strong. Make strength training a rock of your life. Be strong. It matters. It matters what you do today for tomorrow, for the next day, the next day, and the next day. That's what I got for you in this workshop. Okay. Any questions? You got any questions out there? Jack.
What's the fuel for the type 2 fibers?
What is the fuel for the
type 1 is oxygen.
Ah, yes, it's called pyruvate.
Okay.
Where does it come from?
Where does pyruvate come from? Oh man, you're really testing my exercise physiology now. I would say it's a phospholipid where one of the lipids breaks apart of the triglyceride.
Never
Sugar.
mind.
Thanks for asking. That was good. I mean, it is exercise. Yes, right
I
here.
don't know if it's true, but I think I've read that sourdough bread has, how do you say that word?
Pyruvate?
Pyruvate. I could be wrong. I should have looked that up before I said anything, but
Yeah.
it's
I-
made in the body also, but
Yes.
as you age, you don't make as much of it.
Yeah, that's right. So a bread is a sugar, a carbohydrate. A carbohydrate can turn into a triglyceride. That triglyceride can break apart, and it's the action of it breaking apart that creates the pyruvate. Am I right? In the back? Thanks. There's a lot smarter people back there. You know.
Krebs cycle.
Yes, that's the oxygen. Yes, the Krebs cycle is that engine number 1. Krebs cycle is the process by which we produce energy. It's the slow way of doing it. Man, thanks guys. I wasn't expecting the exercise physiology questions. I like that. Any other questions?
Okay, energy produces energy.
Yes, ma'am.
Why do I get so tired?
That's a good question. Yeah. The question, of course, is energy produces energy. Why do I get so tired? Right? And the reality of it is aerobic base, VO2 max. What is your VO2 max? Also, what is your strength capacity? All of us has capacity. Got to build that capacity. We got to stretch it. We got to stretch that thing. Okay. Think of capacity. I don't know, like a pair of pants. I don't know if this is a good analogy, but you wear that pair of pants a couple times, super tight.
Yeah.
But the more that you wear them, stretches, and it eventually will fit you better, right? Because capacity will grow. You still got to get in those pants. Hey, that's great. Any last questions? That went nice. I like it. Awesome. Here's what we're gonna do. Okay, since it's not a lot of questions. You know what's interesting about this? The last time we did a workshop, man, there were so many questions. And at the very end, I was like, I really like the question. It's really, really good. But then I kind of went back and I was like, okay, how can I construct it so I almost provide a lot of the answers? Because it almost felt like there was so many strings left out there. It was just ironic how that. Oh man, saying that.
I do have a question.
Yes.
How do you train the real fast twitch, the rapid response?
Yeah, that's
Other than just like with lifting a heavy weight, that's not the same as catching yourself when you're tripping.
mm-hmm.
And I don't want to go out trying to trip and catch myself. So how do you train that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. That is obviously, if we think about the different engines, 1, 2, down into 3, in those 2x muscle fibers, that is the hardest muscle fiber to train. And that's why athletes, right, with all the 2x fast muscles in the world, spend bazillions of dollars to get exercise physiologists, multiple of them, working together to figure out how to get those to move that much faster, and that much faster, and that much faster. If we think about just sports in general, some of you guys might remember 30, 40 years ago, people weren't getting hurt all that much, right? Well, maybe you guys were tougher. Probably possible, okay? Guaranteed you guys are tougher, Okay, then we're not arguing that. But I can tell you right now, force equals mass times acceleration. Athletes are huge. Right? An offensive lineman 40 years ago, 50 years ago, weighed maybe 250 pounds. Offensive linemen are 390, 370. They're fast, right? They're running fast. Does that make sense? So I think I went all the way to, it's difficult to train that. But that's where, again, you get with somebody that you trust and you make sure that you go after it. So doing it on your own is hard. And even athletes say that. So as we age, that's really hard.
So are there things we are doing in the classes?
Absolutely.
Like what?
Jumping. Jump's a big one.
Okay.
Yeah, jump's a big one.
That's this quarter.
Benchmark week. When you are going 10 out of 10, that's training the 2x muscle fiber. Let's see. Those are the two biggest ones that come to mind. Yeah, but jumping for sure.
I'm a little concerned about that lactic acid that you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be bad, that's good, but it's going to the brain.
The lactic acid. So the lactate is used as fuel so that the brain can operate. Think of it almost as like a form of glucose. Sugar.
Going up here?
You can, yeah.
Does it harden up here?
No, that's something different.
Just checking.
No, that's good.
I'm a little sensitive to this.
Yeah.
Okay.
How efficient is lactic acid?
Say that again.
How efficient?
How efficient? I don't know. I don't know that I can respond to that appropriately.
And what part of the body does it fuel?
So that's where it's kind of going into just like glucose,
Okay.
right? So it will fuel just like glucose. Brain, heart, gets into the bloodstream, goes to the muscle.
Painful food, fuel, right?
No, yeah, it is painful when you have it, and it can be that. But the idea is we used to think, lactate bad. Now we're realizing that this design that we have right here is pretty amazing. It rarely isn't efficient. And even the thing that we thought was garbage, it's actually not garbage, it's actually used as fuel. I highly doubt it's as efficient as other things. And remember, things like lactate or carbohydrates or sugars or things like that, remember that's not the fuel itself, okay? It's just basically that gets the engine to operate that then creates the energy. It's just a tool to work to get the energy. Man, great questions. That's really good. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. The workshop's over. No more questions if you want to. Where's
There is one on Facebook.
we got a Facebook question.
Yes. Jeff is asking, how do you measure VO2 and what is a good range?
How do we measure VO2 max? There's a lot of ways to measure VO2 max. A lot of our smart devices can now get close. Okay, so there's a VO2 max calculator on there. The way in which we calculate y'all's VO2 max, and I'll use our group personal training, and thanks for setting this up for me, Jeff, is we actually calculate it using the ski erg. Okay, we take that mathematical equation and we see how far you can get in 2 minutes. All right, how far you can get in 2 minutes gives us an idea of your overall VO2 max. Okay, then we've created those stepping stone, milestone, and standards so that we can get you above that standard. You get above that standard, your VO2 max is probably doing pretty good. That's how we calculate it here at Freedom. Now, if you go to an exercise physiologist, they have many different ways that they can do that. In fact, you can go so deep into it that you go to threshold, meaning anyone done the Bruce test before? You get on the treadmill and you run up that thing? No. Anyways, you get your body to where you're almost about to pass out, and then it's at that point that we can determine maximum oxygen uptake. It's called the Bruce test. So there's a Bruce test that you can do. Skier test that we do here, 2 minutes. There's other ways that you can take your blood and look at the lactate.
He said thank you.
Okay, so now officially, our workshop, right at 45 minutes, perfect, is over. We will have another workshop in 3 months. You guys will get information about that. We'll continue to go on this series. This workshop we're not trying to sell anything, right? There's no selling here. So if you're members and you're worried about bringing your neighbors and your family and friends, you know, don't worry about that. We're just trying to provide information because the truth of the matter is we gotta get strong. We gotta do something to stop this epidemic, right? And there's a lot of information out there. There's tons and tons of information, but let's get really laser focused in on what we can do and how we can do it. And hopefully this motivates you to continue to do the things that you need to do. That's the idea.
I think this was one of your best.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I
Hopefully-
do.